Hello, I'm Zeke, and welcome to the Zekely Podcast. Let's talk Pennsylvania. The guest I have today lives in Ardmore, Pennsylvania, and takes a special interest in civic engagement and community leadership. When he's now bringing virtual management solutions to school districts, he's working with community leaders to improve accessibility and enjoyment of public spaces. And now he's running to be a commissioner in Ward 8. Thank you so much for being here, Craig Timberlake.
I'm Zeke, a doctor, a Pennsylvanian, and an unapologetic supporter of democratic values. You might have seen me on social media working my ass off for Democrats and meeting some pretty amazing people along the way, like President Barack Obama and Governor Josh Shapiro. For years, I've knocked thousands of doors all over Pennsylvania and poured my heart and soul into supporting candidates and causes that make a difference, from local school board races to national elections. The personal is political, and I take every election in Pennsylvania personally. Where the mainstream media has failed you, I will give you truth and independence. You'll hear from Democratic leaders, candidates, and change makers who are working to improve the health of the Commonwealth, and it won't be boring as hell. No matter where you are, I'll meet you with hope and a plan to make your community better one day at a time. Welcome to the Zekely Podcast. Let's talk Pennsylvania.
Thanks for having me, Zeke. I'm super excited to be here.
It's so good that you're here. You know, I know that your race is uncontested, but I think that it's important for people to understand local politics because, like I've said before, 90% of what affects you every day happens by local politicians, but 90% of people don't know who their local politicians are. And so I think you're a great example of civic engagement, and we're going to have a lot of fun, learn all about you. So you ready to get started?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. So first question, why have you decided to run to be a commissioner in your district?
I mean, I had been working so diligently, I guess, as an activist in the community, trying to accomplish these things that I'd like to see get done for the betterment of my community. And I ultimately decided that having that platform and being able to influence the public discussion and also being able to influence, hopefully, my hopeful future colleagues on the Lower Merion Board of Commissioners would be a great way to kind of help advance my goals. And I also felt like I really have a strong read on the pulse of my community. I lead a Strong Towns group here in Ardmore, and one of the core Strong Towns principles is just get out there, get out and walk your streets. There's no better way to get to know your community than to just every day get out there and walk. And I talk to a lot of people, so I feel like I have a really good sense of that. So that's kind of what ultimately made me come around to the idea of running.
Yeah, I mean, we're neighbors, and I feel like there's a lot that you can do to help our community keep our functional spaces safe for everyone and just keep a close eye on what needs to be done to keep our communities growing. All right, we're going to play a game called Commissioner Gordon. Okay. And in Batman, when Gotham is in trouble, he turns on the bat signal. Okay. So I want you to tell me how you could help people in Lower Merion, except I'm going to say them in my best Batman voice. Okay. And I don't know how well this is my first time doing this. I don't know how this is going to work. Okay. That intersection in Wynwood has 40% more traffic accidents than any other intersection. Is that something that Batman could take care of?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Batman has some really good solutions for that problem.
Okay, good. Excellent. And I'm hoping I'm making you uncomfortable because
no,
this voice, is that even a good voice? I don't even know. I didn't practice this ahead
of time. It's much better than my Batman.
Okay, good.
I'll tell you that.
All right. I figured as commissioner, you could help with traffic accidents in our town.
Yeah. So I could hazard a guess at which intersection you have in mind.
Yes.
You said Wynwood, so I can think of probably a dozen or so different intersections in Wynwood that could greatly benefit from some interventions to make it safer.
Yeah, but that's right in your wheelhouse as commissioner.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, here's another one. Are you ready? A historical building in Wynwood is at risk of losing funding for upkeep.
Historical building in Wynwood is at risk. Yes, absolutely. That is something.
Okay.
I was a history major in college. That doesn't really track to my interest in historic preservation, but I do have a deep and longstanding interest in historic preservation and in particular adaptive reuse. I love seeing old buildings reused in different ways. Here in Ardmore, there's a church near Linwood Park that was converted into condos probably 10 years ago at this point. and it's just one of my favorite properties
Yeah.
in Ardmore. It's gorgeous.
The
So
bat
yes,
signal, the bat signal
bat
would
signal,
attract you to this. Excellent. Okay.
absolutely. Yep.
Now let's try this again. Mail-in ballots in Wynwood are missing their secrecy envelopes and need to be given out to voters.
Oh man, this sounds like a county issue.
There you go. Yeah, I would say the county commissioner would have to put up
Yeah,
the bat signal for that one, not the our
yeah.
local commissioners. You are correct. All right, here's another one. Multiple potholes have developed in the township, causing eyesores and dangerous traffic patterns.
That is absolutely right in my wheelhouse
That's
as
your
a
wheelhouse.
commissioner.
You would respond to that bat signal.
I
Excellent.
would respond to that bat signal, and I would not only would I encourage filling of the potholes, but while we're at it, let's narrow the street while we're doing it.
There you go. Okay.
Since we've got the trucks out there anyways.
All right. Here's the last one to stop beating this horse. A high school district requires major maintenance on the bleachers surrounding its football field.
I'd have to refer you to my friends at Lower Merion School District for
there you go. The school
problem.
board, the superintendent. You got it. All right. Well, you got it. Well, thanks for playing Commissioner Gordon with me.
At any time. That was a blast.
All right, Craig, what makes a town good to live in?
It's a great question. So my first probably 5 years living in Ardmore, I knew I loved it, but I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was that made it so special to me.
Mhm.
And then it dawned on me when I went to visit, shortly after I went to visit my brother, who lives in Greenwood, Indiana, which is an absolute suburban hellscape. It's cul-de-sacs, and all the houses look the same. And if you want to go anywhere whatsoever, you need to get in a car. Most people pull into their driveways, open their garage doors, pull in their garage, never talk to their neighbors. They've got these very wide streets, which encourages people to go to speed very fast, and beautiful sidewalks that virtually no one uses. Contrasting that with here, where we have narrow streets, we have lots of sidewalks, virtually no one has garages. If they do, they're in the backyards, kind of off the street, which makes space for people to have front porches. And that was it. I realized that the built environment, the way our neighborhood is built, encourages community connections and just fosters that, people getting out on the streets and walking around, or even if they never leave their yard, right? You like wave from their porch or their stoop. And I think that to me is what makes certainly my community very special. Is that the strength of the community bonds, which I think is a direct result of the way we built our place back before the dominance of cars kind of overtook everyone's brains in the United States.
It makes perfect sense. Well, Craig, are there any specific qualifications to become a commissioner?
Other than living in the ward that you intend to run for, as I discovered, there's not really any formal requirements.
Like just reading your CV, I got a sense that you were meant for this position because you care very much about the community you live in. You're very hands-on with improving public spaces. And I just got a real feel for this made sense for you. I think some people, they get put in a position, you're like, how did they get there? You know what? They're not qualified. They don't care about what they're doing. They're just kind of pigeonholed into that position, but it makes sense for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where, when you asked the question, my brain immediately went to the formal kind of requirements.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. I think I agree. I feel that my background and my activities in my community have set me up very well to be a very effective representative for my future constituents here in Ward 8. Yeah. And I very much look forward to doing that. I really enjoy service and giving back to my community. And I've always viewed local government as kind of the highest form of local collaboration, which is another kind of core strong towns idea. And I'm just very thankful and excited to have the opportunity to act on that.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Again, I'm glad that you are endorsed by the local Democratic Party. I think that speaks volumes about why you're getting to this position, because it is largely a volunteer position. I know, is there some compensation, like a little bit of compensation for what you're doing, but not
there is
like substantial compensation? This isn't like a full-time job type of position, it's mostly volunteer.
I think it's around $4,000 a year.
Right. Yeah.
Which on an hourly basis, kind of breaks out to be
Right.
pretty low pay. So I'm definitely not in it for the money.
Yeah, you're not doing it for the money. You're doing it because you want to make your community better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I know that you do enjoy living in Lower Merion. So we're going to play a trivia game, okay, about Lower Merion. So let's see how well you know Lower Merion, all right? So in 1682, William Penn sold 40,000 acres to the Welsh Quakers of what would later be Merion. For how much an acre, do you think? What's your guess?
Good Lord.
In 1680, what's your guess on how much 40,000 acres went for per acre?
40,000 acres per acre. What were we using for currency then?
We'll make it dollars and cents. It's
okay.
We'll just go there.
I'm gonna guess a very low amount.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go with $10 an acre.
10 cents an acre.
10 cents an acre. Wow.
10 cents an acre in 1682.
How prices have risen. Yeah.
I know. Crazy, right? I know. That is insane. All right, here's the next one. Constructed in 1695, it is the oldest place of worship in continuous use in Pennsylvania.
It's not Old Haverford.
It's not. It's the Merion Friends Meeting House. Yeah.
Merion Friends Meeting. So I had the right.
Yeah.
I was on with the Quakers.
Yeah, you were on the right track.
Not the right. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
I should have guessed a place that's actually in Lower Merion.
It's okay.
Given the topic here.
There you go. All right, here. Opening in 1885, which college was the first college for women that offered a bachelor's degree and also gave instruction for graduates in all departments?
That has to be one of the original Seven Sisters, Bryn Mawr.
Bryn Mawr, you got it. Very good.
College. All right.
Very, very good. All right, here's the last one. 1921, after a typhoid outbreak, the Lower Merion Board of Health took control of overseeing what?
Mackinac?
So it took control of milk pasteurization and distribution to the community. Yeah. So Salmonella typhi is what causes typhoid. And before the development of vaccines and antibiotics, typhoid fever was a common and often deadly disease with a case fatality rate between 10 and 20%.
Oh,
so it is high. It is really high. Yeah. So the Lower Merion Board of Health took it upon themselves to oversee milk pasteurization, which significantly decreased the disease. There you go.
Very interesting.
Local politics. Craig, what are some major issues you would like to address in Lower Merion as commissioner?
So we've touched on a few already. Pedestrian safety is a big one. And that was motivated, again, by me walking around. But what really got me is when my kids started walking to Lower Merion High School from our house in Ardmore, and walking through the intersection of Church and Lancaster, which is just an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
And everyone recognizes that. No one will argue that intersection is not dangerous.
Yeah.
Yet we've been saying that for my entire tenure here in Lower Merion, which is now 15 years. Another issue that I care a lot about is transparency in government. I know that I am one who pays very close attention to what the township is doing. I go to lots of public meetings, and it's still it can be challenging for me to keep up with things. So, for people who, might have young children or for whatever reason can't go to a public meeting on a Wednesday night, I would really like to find some ways to make a government much more accessible and to make it much easier for people to stay informed on what's going on. And I think that there are some interventions that we could do as a township that would not drastically alter the physical, like what the character of our place, right? I mean, Lower Merion is very special, and a lot of what makes it special is the physical look of it. And a lot of people understandably don't want to dramatically alter that. But by looking at options like allowing people to convert their garages, for example, into small accessory dwelling units would go a long way to increasing the density without dramatically altering the physical layout of our place. A friend of mine who did live on my street, a single mother, recently had to move because her landlord jacked her rent up $600 higher than she was paying. It's just her and her daughter, and there are very, very few good options, like right-sized options for her in Lower Merion. And then thinking about like my son, who is my older son is a junior in college right now. There is zero chance that when he finishes college or even finishes grad school that he's going to be able to come back to Lower Merion and live here. It's just not going to be affordable for him.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I just like the fact that there are people like you out there who think about these things on a local level.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, Craig, how could someone be a bad commissioner?
How could someone be a bad commissioner? So a bad commissioner would not listen to their constituents. A bad commissioner would not do their homework, would, show up to the meetings unprepared. A bad commissioner would not communicate with their constituents, keep them informed on what is happening in their ward. Development is always a hot topic around here, and that people don't like the idea of building large new developments. And I understand that. I can sympathize with that. While I think we need lots of housing, as we touched on earlier, I also would like to see not massive block long apartment developments. I would much rather see, instead of the Piazza development, for example, here in Ardmore, 12 smaller developments on the same footprint, much more kind of bottom up and therefore much more in character with the town and the way it's developed.
So it sounds like you really, as a commission, have a lot of influence over how development occurs in our communities. And if you have members on a commission who don't care about the footprint of that community and don't care if you have these massive buildings right next to suburban areas, which will increase traffic and make it a more difficult commute and make it more congested, then they're going to do that. They'll just steamroll that right through, and you won't have any really much say over it until the next commissioners get elected in. So I guess that's a good explanation as to why it actually does matter that you have good commissioners elected who care about the community and don't allow unchecked growth, where you live. So how long again did you live in Maine before moving to Pennsylvania?
So I lived in Maine for most of my adult life. I was born in Nebraska because my dad was in the Air Force. But I was in Maine until I was about 35. We moved here to Lower Merion.
Yeah. Anything you miss about living in Maine?
I do. I very much miss summers in Maine. It's a glorious place to be in the summer if you've ever been or never been. But the flip side of that is the winters are very harsh.
Yeah, I'm sure they're brutal. Yeah.
Although getting less so with climate change, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, winters are ultimately what drove us to leave. We had a couple of pretty bad winters in a row, just nor'easter after nor'easter that made us finally decide to relocate closer to my wife's family. So that's how we ended up in Pennsylvania.
I went to residency in Albany, New York, and so it's not Maine necessarily, but it was cold. We had short summers and the winters were rough, so I can relate.
Yeah, it's not that far off climate-wise than interior Maine. Yeah, so it's pretty close.
Well, we're happy to have you here in Pennsylvania. Well, we're going to play another game called Maine Rumors. Okay, it's a true or false game. I want to see how well you know Maine. Okay, so true or false? Maine is the only state in the United States with a one-syllable name.
True.
That is true. Very good. True or false? The official state animal of Maine is the lobster.
False.
What is it?
The moose.
You got it. Wow, you're crushing this one. True or false? Maine produces 90% of the country's toothpicks.
True.
That is true. Very good. Here's the last one. True or false? There are more lighthouses in Maine than Dunkin' Donuts.
True.
It's actually false.
False. Oh, wow.
There are many more Dunkin' Donuts.
I was on the fence. On the fence. Yeah.
A lot more Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, I'm sure you frequent them quite often when you're in Maine.
Indeed. Yes.
There are a number of committees that not only oversee various aspects of the community here in Lower Merion, but also report to you to help guide various projects. So some of these are the Zoning Board, the Health Advisory Council, the Police Pension Fund. So even though you'll be making decisions in a lot of these areas, are there any committees that you are interested in getting involved with?
Yeah. So this will probably come as no surprise, but I'm very interested in the Traffic Safety Committee.
Okay.
There's an ad hoc traffic calming committee that I am really hoping to be on. I am very interested in the affordable housing committee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those would probably be the major ones, but I'm really interested in all of it. And that might sound like just a cop out, but it's true. It's a blessing and a curse. I've sat in on, I think at this point, most of the citizen advisory committees, like the sustainability, the health advisory council. And I'm just humbled and amazed at the willingness of private citizens who are experts in their fields, willing
Mm-hmm.
to give up that time to devote to advising the township board of
Yeah.
commissioners. It's truly remarkable,
I mean,
and
again,
I'm
you
so
pay
grateful for
attention.
that.
Yeah, you go to the meetings, you pay attention, and that's why you want to get involved. So that'll be great. Craig, why are you a Democrat?
I am a Democrat because the party's values very much align with my personal values. I was actually independent for most of my life, coming from Maine. We have a very strong tradition of political independence there. And I was frankly turned off by party politics for a very long time. Honestly, I still am to a certain extent. But the first Trump administration really made me. So I read a book by the political scientist Eitan Hirsch called "Politics is for Power." The thesis was that you being me, spend all of your time on Facebook arguing with people about all of the crimes of the Trump administration.
Mm,
And you consider yourself to be very informed on current events, and you can name all of the cabinet members, but you're really just a hobbyist. You're not actually doing anything. And that to me was just a gut punch. It felt as if he were writing directly to me.
mm.
He was absolutely right. I was a hobbyist. And I decided that I was going to pay a lot closer attention to what was happening locally, and that I was going to try to align my actions with my beliefs a lot more. And for me, that meant finally joining
Mhm.
the Democratic Party. Just I fully support democratic values, democratic candidates, democratic principles. I think that the Republican Party has become a very dangerous shell of itself and has been overtaken by very extreme and dangerous movement.
I,
And I just hope our country can survive that.
I hope so too. Well, I'm glad that you'll be bringing those values to your position as Commissioner of Ward 8. And as long as we have good people like you waking up every day at the local level, then from a bottom up perspective, we will get things back on track. I do believe that.
I agree. Yeah, that's I think that people pay way too much attention and devote way too much emotional energy to what happens at the national level, and
Hmm.
it's obviously very important,
Yeah.
but the amount of impact that any individual can have at the local level is just tremendous when you compare it to what you can do at the national level.
Absolutely. And every election is the most important election.
Indeed, yes.
Well, Craig, you successfully applied for a grant from Better Block Foundation to make improvements to the plaza in Ardmore, which includes a ground mural, which is beautiful, by the way, new planters and benches built by you. So I feel like I already know the answer to this, but what inspired you to pursue this initiative?
Well, I felt very strongly that downtown Ardmore, deserved a vibrant public space,
Hmm.
and that it was lacking that. I look at Suburban Square,
Yeah.
and with a little bit of jealousy, they have, for as much grief as Suburban Square might take from fans of downtown Ardmore, because it's a very kind of sterile environment. It's very there's lots of national chains. There's not much independent local retailers there, but they've figured out how to make people want to be there. Right?
Yeah.
It's comfortable. They've calmed traffic. They have lots of seating. They've got just pleasant places for people to be, and they've realized that bringing people in, attracting them there with those kind of amenities is good for business. So I felt very strongly that Ardmore both needed and deserved a space like that. And I say but this was not just me. I and many of my many of my neighbors had the same feeling. So we joined together last fall and formed a Friends of Schaffel Plaza group with the goal to activate that space and to make it more welcoming and inviting. And then the Better Block Foundation, which is an organization that I've been a fan of for years. They do amazing things all over the country. They will go into a community, obviously at the community's invitation, and take an underutilized space, like an empty parking lot or something like that, and convert it into an active civic space. And so I applied. I had about 15 different ideas in my pocket, and I was accepted and got the grant, and knew right away that that Schaffel Plaza would be a fantastic candidate for a placemaking project. And I just have to say, like, the site, even though I led the project, there were so many members of the community that have been extremely helpful and deeply involved in this whole process. It's truly been a bottom-up community project, and I'm very humbled and grateful for the community for stepping up.
It's a great initiative.
Thank you.
Craig, what gives you hope?
So that hope can be hard to find if you're looking at the headlines these days, but really what gives me hope is the other members of my community. There's so many people out there just not only willing but excited to do good things in the community. And this Better Block project has really proven that. It's really remarkable to see, and just so humbling, and I'm just so grateful. So that gives me hope. If nothing else, I have just an outstanding, extremely engaged and strong community here that I can rely on.
We all need to protect that. That is going to carry us through.
Yep.
And my last question for you is, what plans do you have to get yourself through these next few years?
I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. Just roll up my sleeves and put in the work. That's what's gotten me through certainly the last 9 months, and I would say really my entire life. Just doing work.
One day at a time.
One day at a time.
One day at a time.
Keeping positive. I know for me, it's been very good for my mental health to get off Facebook and pay attention to what's going on IRL rather than what's going on online. Having real conversations with real people face to face. That's what's kept me going, and I think that's what's going to get me through the next 3 or 4 years and beyond.
Sticking together as a community, as you said.
Yeah, it's more important than ever. Right now.
I agree. Well, Craig, thank you so much for coming on to the Zekely Podcast. I really think it's important to showcase local politics. And there are going to be a lot of positions on the ballot this November 4th. And it's just going to be great for you to get involved in our community and to see what you're going to do for Lower Merion in the future.
I am very excited. And Zeke, thank you very much for having me. This has been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate what you do. Your enthusiasm is infectious, and I just wish we could clone you.
This is my contribution to Pennsylvania. Really, as you said earlier, you're part of the Democratic Party because it has the values that you have within yourself. And I think we need to showcase that more. You're a good person, willing to do good things for your community, stand up and volunteer. And if every single person in Pennsylvania did that, we would progress in ways that would be unstoppable. So
absolutely. We would be unstoppable is perfect. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. And you're doing your part. So thank you very much.
And likewise.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me here on the Zekely Podcast. To stay hopeful and get involved. And until next time, let's keep building a stronger Pennsylvania together.